not everyone's gonna like the real you, but that's okay, because God likes the real you. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, I'm Lakeishaa, and if you're not new, welcome back. Today we're going to be getting into a lovely conversation that's well needed about when you feel rejected. It's not necessarily because you're not good enough, but maybe you need those rejections in order to be redirected to where God is calling you to. But without further ado, let's just get into the video. I know how it feels to feel rejected your whole life, growing up, feeling as though you don't fit in anywhere, feeling as though you just don't have a place in this world, feeling as though everything you do is just not good enough, and everything you try, you just don't feel like it sticks, and it wears away at your self-confidence and your self-esteem, and it leaves you sometimes feeling like you're not good enough, and it makes you feel as though, what's the point of me even trying anymore? And I would encourage you that rejection doesn't mean you're not good enough. It doesn't mean that no one's going to want you. It doesn't mean that nothing's ever going to work. It just means that wasn't for you, because sometimes God has to close a door in order for another one to open. Sometimes God has to close a door so you have no choice but to trust and rely on him, because sometimes we're trying to be accepted by people who are not meant to accept us. Sometimes we're trying to be accepted by people who are not for us, and because we're trying to force ourselves to be accepted by people, we can't be directed to the people that's really for us. My whole childhood, I spent my time trying to be accepted by the it girls, the girls that got all the guys, the girls that were socially accepted and looked a certain type of way, not realizing that was not my tribe. Those were not my type of people. Those wasn't the people that God wanted me to surround myself with. But I spent so much time trying to be accepted by them, trying to fit in with them. I spent so much time trying to fit into crowds that were not for me. I spent so much time trying to do that whole clubbing thing that wasn't for me. I have a very introverted personality naturally. However, there's times where I could be very extroverted. But what I was trying to do, I was trying to live in a world that wasn't mine. And because I'd grown up surrounded by those people, I automatically thought I'm meant to fit in this place, and I tried so hard to fit in until when I got to about 21, I realized that, Lakeishaa, you was never meant to fit in with these people. You're trying so hard to be something that you're not. You're trying so hard to dive into something that you're not meant to be. You're trying so hard to achieve this and that when that's not for you. You know, when you don't know who you are fully and you don't know what you're meant to be doing in this life, you always try and fit the mold. You always try and become like someone else. You always see someone else doing something and try that. Oh, let me try that. Let me try this. I was always trying to fit a certain image when that image wasn't me. Sometimes you're trying to do this to your body, trying to look like this appearance. For example, like when you're on the slimmer side and you think, I need to gain weight. You always have to question, why do you want to gain weight so much? What image are you trying to fit? With me, I'm naturally slim. I'm naturally a size 6. And when I was younger, I used to hate that. So when I was like 17, I started taking apetamin and I started gaining weight because I wanted to fit into the thick girls club. I wanted to be thick. I wanted to be what guys wanted. And for a time I was what those guys wanted. But then I still felt insecure because it wasn't the body that I needed, but it was to get my mind right. It was my mind that was insecure. It wasn't even about my body. It was about me. I didn't accept myself, and therefore I didn't think other people accepted me. I was trying to be accepted by people that wasn't for me. And yeah, it was nice being big for a while, but then it got to a stage where I started aligning myself with God. I started my self-love journey, and on that journey I realized that this version of me is not the real me. And so I started losing weight. And what I tried so hard to gain, now I wanted to lose, and I wanted to go back to my original state. Because you see, when you accept who you really are and you become very confident and you begin to love yourself, you begin to go back to your original state. Your real self comes out. You begin to accept who you really are. You begin to get to know yourself, and you begin to realize that who you are is who you're meant to be. And when you realize who you're meant to be, you attract who's meant to be around you. And when I lost all the weight and I got back to who I was meant to be, I've never felt as confident as I do now being a size 6/8. And the guys who I used to date before, they probably wouldn't want slim Lakeishaa, and I completely don't care. I love being slim. And obviously within like the black community, guys tend to like thicker girls, but I always said, even if you like thick girls, if you're for me, you will be for me. And with that mindset, it comes by me knowing I love myself enough to not compromise, to fit the mold, to accommodate other people. That even though I was rejected for being small, now the people who want me small flock towards me. Like, guys don't care about that I'm slim and maybe I don't have a big bunda, as the guys call it. They care about me, who I am, because I care about myself. And it's about time you started accepting yourself. Even if the world rejects you, it's about time you accept you. Because somewhere deep inside of you is that little girl that is calling out for acceptance. But until you accept yourself first, no one else is going to come around you. Because if you constantly reject yourself and don't accept yourself, you're constantly going to be attracting that. You're going to be attracting rejection because you reject yourself. But once you accept yourself, once you accept who you truly are, you will begin to attract acceptance. And it's not that you're looking for it, it's that people have no choice but to accept you as you are, because you accept yourself and you don't compromise. Your family may have rejected you. They may make little comments like, oh, you need to lose weight, you need to do that, or they try and make comments about your weight. Do you think people wasn't making comments about my weight when I was a bit bigger? I remember my dad used to say, Lakeisha, you're gaining too much weight, and he said it out of love, but it still used to hurt. Yeah, I know my dad. It's how some Caribbean parents, they just say things very bluntly, and they may not be saying it out of meanness, but it can still hurt. And then when I started losing weight, my mum used to say, Lakeisha, you're getting too thin, you need to start eating. And I'm thinking, it didn't hurt though, because Brody, I worked for this slim body. I'm a slimmers now. I worked for this. I love it, and no comment is going to make me feel like I need to change. I'm okay with people rejecting me. I'm not for everyone. There may be guys that I may find attractive that may not find me attractive, and that's okay, because I'm not for everyone. And once you accept that you're not for everyone, not everyone likes marmalade on their toast, not everyone likes peanut butter on their crumpets. And I love marmalade on my toast, and I know not a lot of people like that. Before, I didn't even like marmalade. Now I love marmalade. You're not everyone's preference, and that's okay. You need to start embodying that. I ain't everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. But one thing you ain't gonna do is overlook me. Every rejection is you closer to your acceptance. And I had to learn that by me getting rejected by guys, it meant that you're just not for me, and it's not gonna knock my self-confidence or my self-esteem, because as long as I keep my eyes on Jesus and believe that what's for me will be for me, I know that every rejection is pushing me closer to my acceptance. Every rejection is pushing me closer to where God wants me to be. And you are not a rejection just because you feel like you're an outcast. So what? I've always felt like I'm a black sheep, and it's not just because I always wear black, okay? I always felt like I was a black sheep, but what I realised was I may be a black sheep, but that's just because I'm meant to find other black sheeps who are like me. Okay, I've always felt rejected. I've always felt like that outcast. I've always felt like no one understands me. And step by step, I'm beginning to find my type of people. Maybe I find them one by one, but I'm beginning to find them. There were so much friends I used to have that I just had because I wanted them to accept me, and they used to invite me out, and I used to go just because I didn't want them to I didn't want them to replace me. I felt like that with men. Oh my gosh, I don't want them to reject me again, so I'd either conform to them or I'd try and reject them before they rejected me, and that's not healthy. Just because someone rejected you or someone is rejecting you, it does not mean you are not worth another person. It just means that person's not for you. Just because that job rejected you, it doesn't mean that you're not worth them. It just means that wasn't for you, and it means God has something else for you. A rejection means that there's something else for you. It means that you shouldn't give up trying or give up looking for what you're looking for just because you haven't found it yet. It just means that it's not your time, and that's not your place, and maybe it's not your season. And I'm talking from one rejected girl to maybe another. Rejection is a blessing sometimes, because in the Bible there was a lot of rejections that people went through, and then after the rejection they realized that it was a blessing. Joseph was rejected by his whole family in the Bible. He was rejected. He was rejected multiple times. He was rejected by his brothers. He was rejected by Potiphar. He was in prison. And it wasn't until he got to Egypt that he realized that all of those rejections was to push him to Egypt, to be the ruler of Egypt. You see, sometimes you don't realize that God is saving you from certain things by causing rejections. The rejection could be from that guy, but God's saving you from that. The rejection could be from that job, but that job wasn't for you. When I realised that, you know what, Lakeisha, you've been rejected so much times, it's about time you just let go. I let go. I focused on God, and I realised that God was bringing to me everyone I needed. He brought to me the friends I needed. He brought to me the relationships I needed. He brought to me what I needed. Because sometimes it's not people you need, but it's to embrace who you are, and stop focusing on what other people think of you, and start thinking, what do you actually think about yourself? As long as you accept you, that's all that matters. And eventually there will be people that accept you as you are. You don't need to conform to people. You don't need to dilute yourself. You don't need to become what they want you to become, but you are okay with being you. I used to get really insecure about myself because I wasn't that super bubbly, extroverted person. I was very introverted. I was very quite quiet and a little bit timid, and I was never the life of the party. And I used to feel a little bit insecure about that. I used to feel like in like social settings, do I look awkward? Are people going to think I'm boring? Like, what do people think of me? My face is just straight. Like, I used to look at the people that were very extroverted and bubbly, and I used to wish I was like that. And it wasn't until I accepted who I am that, Lakeisha, you're completely fine. You're actually fine. Like, just because you're a bit quiet and you're not as bubbly as that person doesn't matter. Like, you are who you are, and it's time you accept yourself. And once I accepted that about me, I don't feel awkward about being the quietest person somewhere. In fact, I think that makes me more valuable. It makes me more intriguing. It makes me more interesting. And who is for me will flock towards me. I'd rather be me completely and be rejected rather than be who you want me to be and be accepted. Not everyone's going to like the real you, but that's okay. Because God likes the real you. He knows you better than you know yourself. Even the cringy stuff you do in private, God sees that. He knows you. And He loves you. And as long as God accepts you and you accept yourself, who cares? Because if God be for you, say it with me now, who can be against you? But thank you for watching L Talk the Real Talk, my version of a TED Talk. I hope this video blessed you. If it did, share this video, like, comment down below, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications so you never miss an upload. I upload every Wednesday and every Sunday at 7:30. But thank you for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye.